Hello everybody, it's Sarah, and it is time to talk about the first TBR of the next year. I hate that the year is already over. I legitimately hate it. I mean, this year for me personally was great. It was amazing. Like, I got my first internship in the field that I want to work in. I got my first proper job in the field that I want to work in. I started, question mark, debatable, my master's thesis. So there's a lot of great things that have been happening for me this year, but I still don't want this year to be over. But anyway, it's time to talk about the first TBR of 2023, and with my TBRs in 2023, I will have it as I did with my TBRs in 2022, and that is that on every TBR I will have six books, 5 non-fiction books and 1 fiction book. No, the other way around. 5 fiction books and 1 non-fiction book. We'll see if I can actually get to 6 non-fiction books in 2023. I did not manage in 2022. I think I ended up reading 3 non-fiction books, possibly. But to be honest, I'm not that mad about it, because in total I am sure I read more than 6 non-fiction books, or the amount of 6 non-fiction books. It's just that I read most of those things for uni, and I wanted to have 6 books that I read, you know, for private reasons. But yeah, let's start with the non-fiction book for 2023. Let's start with the first book that I plan on reading, the first non-fiction book I plan on reading in 2023, which is this book. I only have a German copy here. The German title of this book is Die Welt nach den Imperien, Aufstieg und Niedergang der postkolonialen Selbstbestimmung, by Adam Getachew. I'm not sure, This last name sounds Eastern European, so I would pronounce it somewhere in the direction of Getachew, but I don't know where the author actually is from. Well, the author is black, so, you know, maybe it's wrong that I want to pronounce it Eastern European. But regardless of how you pronounce the author, the English title of the book is World Making After Empire, The Rise and Fall of Self-Determination. And this book basically is about the decolonial movement in the second half of the 20th century. It's about the theories, it's also about the acts that this movement did. You know, it's about decolonization in general. And it's about the hopes and dreams that the decolonial movement had. And yeah, I just think it's very, very interesting. It's about self-determination after decolonization, although decolonization hasn't really happened yet. Technically, it's complicated. So yeah, I'm just very, very interested to see what the contents of this book are gonna be. I saw it in the Christmas time at the bookshop and I just had to have it. So I bought it. Well, my mom bought it, but you know, I bought it technically. But I'm very excited to get to this. So now I probably talked the longest about the book that you're the least interested, but let's move on. Next, I have 2 books that I still have from my r/fantasy TBR. Technically, to be finished with the TBR, I'm gonna have to read 3 books from the TBR each month, but you know, I'm gonna keep back and just read 2 books from the TBR in January, or well, only put 2 books from the TBR on my TBR. On my monthly TBR. That's what I wanted to say. The first is The Forever Sea by Joshua Philip Johnson. This is a book that has been on my TBR since 2021, which is when it came out. It has also been on multiple of my 5-star predictions lists, purely on the vibes of the cover alone. And I don't necessarily know what this is about, but I think it might be queer. I think the main character might be bisexual, and it's in this kind of prairie type world where there's just this huge grass sea and ships float, whatever, above the grass sea, and yeah, I don't I don't know anything about this. I have to be honest. It's about a captain. So there's kind of, you know, sea piracy something vibes, I think. But I will tell you what it's about once I have read it, hopefully in January. And this is, once again, a really floppy book. I really like it. It looks really thin, but I think, yeah, it's 450 pages. It looks slightly less, actually. The next book I have that I also want to read because it's still on my r/fantasy bingo board, and with this book I think I should finally be able to get a bingo. I've so far read over half of the books on that board and I still don't have a bingo. But the book that I'm talking about is Black Leopard Red Wolf by Marlon James. This is the first book in a series by a Jamaican author. I believe Marlon James is a Jamaican author. This one, as far as I know, is queer as well, so the main character is queer as well, and I think, yeah, the main character is a hunter, so I think he's kind of a type of mercenary who searches for people. And this is also set in a world that is kind of inspired by different African cultures, and once again, that's everything I know about this book. You all know I am terrible, absolutely terrible about knowing what books are about before I read them. The next book I want to read in January is, of course, the buddy read for my book club. My book club is of Queens, Witches and Valkyries, and in that book club we read one adult fantasy per month that is written by a woman or a genderqueer person, and, you know, we talk about it. And so if you're interested in joining us, the Twitter and the Discord will be linked down below, so definitely do that. For January, actually, our buddy read maybe is not a fantasy but a science fiction, and that is The Red Scholar's Wake by Aliette de Bodard. But I got this in my December Illumicrate. It's so pretty. It is so gorgeous, so absolutely gorgeous. The end papers are also really pretty. Let me take out the signed thing, but yeah, anyway, it's a science fiction technically. It's a murder mystery in space, about two women. One of them is the leader of a pirate fleet, and the other one is a bot maker, data analyst, and mother. And I think she might be, or the two of them might be the wife of the person that was murdered. I am very excited to get to this, and I just put it on a poll for a buddy read because I did not care that it's science fiction, and it seems neither did the members of the book club. So, you know, we mostly read adult fantasy, but every now and again a science fiction might slip in there. So in terms of the book club, there's another book that we're reading. Well, everyone else is technically reading. I'm not reading it because I reread this book in 2022, but together with some other lovely booktubers who I will leave linked down below, we have started, or we are going to start, the Kushiel Along, which is a read-along of all of Jacqueline Carey's Kushiel books, so the two Kushiel's Legacy trilogies as well as the Nama trilogy, and then going on to the Cassiel Servant trilogy probably, because at least the first book will be out by the time that we're done with the read-along. And yeah, we're taking 2 months per book, but I did upload the announcement video yesterday, so I will just leave that with all the details linked down below if you're interested, and also up there. So the last book I have before I get to my series TBR chart is a book that, as short as it is, I sadly won't be getting to it anymore until the year is over. I really wanted to, I won't manage it, and that is Into the Riverlands by Nivo. This finally arrived. This is the third book in the Singing Hills series, or Singing Hills saga, which is Nivo's kind of novella series, so they're all very short, all just 100 pages, and in that series we follow a chronicler as they travel the country, travel the lands, searching for different stories. And so each book they meet someone, and each book that someone tells them their story. And so the books, the novellas, are a mix between the interactions of the chronicler with whoever they met, as well as the story. I don't know what the story in this novella will be about specifically. I didn't look it up because, you know, they're really short, so I don't really want to spoil myself for anything. But yeah, if you're looking for beautifully written novellas, definitely pick up these. I honestly want these to get as much hype as like Sean McGuire's Wayward Children series, because they absolutely deserve it. Not that I have read Wayward Children, but you know, they still deserve it. So the last thing I have is my series TBR chart. As always, I have all my unfinished series on my shelves that already have further books out in this TBR chart, and every month I pull a series from this TBR chart and then I read the next book in that series. So let's start with this one for January of 2022, which is The Burnt Empire by Ashok K. Banker. I'm not getting the books, they're over there, over here in this little cubicle. The Burnt Empire started with Upon a Burning Throne. The second book was A Dark Queen Rises. I read both of them in 2021. The third thing I think is The Blind King's Wrath. And this series, this trilogy, is a retelling of the Indian epic, the Mahabharata. Well, I'm actually not familiar enough with the Mahabharata to know if it's a retelling or if it's loosely inspired by the Mahabharata. It's somewhere in between those two. I did enjoy the first two books, especially because Ashok K. Banker's storytelling is very different from what we're used in the West. And so yeah, I just didn't get around to it in 2021 to order and finish the last book. But the cover of the last book is also really pretty. I love the covers of these books. They're like 100% some of the most beautiful books I own. And so yeah, I'm excited to finish the series. And that was now it for my first TBR of 2023, and as always my last video of the previous year, so my last video of 2022. Tell me in the comments down below, what are some books that you want to start the year out with, because, you know, it's kind of important. It's kind of important to think about what books you want to start the year out with, because it can kind of put you in a slump if you start the year out with books that you just don't end up liking. And for some reason, I don't know, I feel like the books that you start a year with, they kind of bring a certain energy with them for the year. So I'm just thinking about it a lot always, which is why I just chose a bunch of queer books. Like every single book on my TBR, aside from the Ashok K. Banker one, is queer and has queer main characters. So, you know, I love that for myself. And actually, I think there's only one white author on this list as well. So I have 2 black authors, I have 2 Asian authors, 3 Asian authors. But yeah, so tell me in the comments down below which books you're starting the year with. If you enjoyed this video, maybe think about giving me a thumbs up and also maybe subscribing. All the links to my social media, as well as to my book club of Queens, Witches and Valkyries, where I read one adult high fantasy book written by a woman or genderqueer person per month, will be left linked down below, so go and check those out. And I hope I'll see you very soon. Bye!